how you're watching us. Holly, it's been an interesting day because you and I have been talking about this for a while. The air quality out there, very poor, and just seconds before we went to air with this, we got an update.
Yes, we did. So we do have that air quality alert extended until about 8 o'clock p.m.
That makes sense because we really haven't seen significant improvement, and it was supposed to expire at noon. But now it has been pushed on into the later evening hours as well on this Thursday here. It is a bit of a problem, obviously. The smoke from these Canadian wildfires has covered large areas across the U.S., and it has even traveled over to parts of Europe as well. Air quality has been affected in New England, New York, the Midwest, you name it. Experts say these very unhealthy levels of air quality can have a serious effect on your health, and it's important to know where to look for the latest information on air quality in your area.
Right now there are a bunch of wildfires in the plain states of Canada, and forest fires emit a lot of particulates into the atmosphere and a lot of reactive gases into the atmosphere as well. And so some of those particles and gases are reaching high enough that they can be transported long distance. And so some of those particles are coming into the U.S. and affecting our air quality.
All right, so since the beginning of May, this goes back, weeks at this point, wildfires have spread across that portion of Canada. Canada, a very large country by land mass, second largest on the planet. So it is a very large area, similar to our Central Plains in, topography, but very highly forested, particularly north of a certain latitude. You see these massive flames right now, more than 200 active fires, and that was as of just yesterday. Containment is at this point kind of at a minimum. It's, as you can see from some of those pictures, a very remote, very rugged area, very difficult for some of those crews to access. It's a lot of airdrops and backfires and trenching and things like that that they're going to use to hopefully contain and minimize this. But for as long as that burns, we will be talking about it, and that's where we turn next.
Yes, we turn to Tom next because Tom is going to even talk more about air quality and the air quality index. So we're going to hand it over to you, Tom.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, great to be with you here this afternoon. And Rob, as you just mentioned, as we were going to air, the DNR just extended the air quality alert until noon tomorrow. So it's been extended another 24 hours. Here we are. We have our storm chase vehicle out. We are here in Mequon along the shores of Lake Michigan. An interesting spot to be. Let me show you why here, because we're going to pan you over here with our photographer Tanner, and this is Lake Michigan. Well, from what you can see of Lake Michigan, because, well, the wildfire smoke continues to come in from this direction. Now, no, it has nothing to do with Lake Michigan itself, but it's because of the wind direction and the winds coming in off the lake that are bringing in the smoke from the northeast. Now, I've brought my portable sensor here when it comes to kind of gauging the air, and we talked about this on our news broadcast last night as well, where we're able to measure what's called PM 2.5, which is the size of the particulate matter that wildfire smoke actually brings in. It's able to detect that wildfire smoke here, and as I'm looking at this here live, it is still pretty much on the higher side. So that very much coincides with why the DNR has gone ahead and extended that air quality alert through noon tomorrow. And again, well, you don't even need the device to tell you when you look out over the lake and you can see that haziness here. And again, that wildfire smoke is coming in directly off the long part of Lake Michigan here this afternoon, and it's going to continue straight into the afternoon hours here and likely into tomorrow. But the good news is, according to forecasts here, it should start to improve as we go through the next 24 hours or so. But again, by our devices and just by visual here looking out over the lake, the wildfire smoke continues. Rob, Holly, back over to you.
All right, thanks, Tom. And as you said, we hope to get some improvement, but this could come back as easily as it departs.
That's right, yeah. In fact, by Saturday, the winds could change direction yet again and bring more of that smoke coming on through. So that's really going to be the issue here. And Rob, you mentioned, I mean, just the sheer numbers of fires and acres that are burning in Canada. And as long as those fires remain out of control, for us, we are 100% dependent on the wind direction and the jet stream winds, the upper level winds, and when those align, that'll bring the smoke back. So unfortunately, as long as those wildfires burn, we could be in for a smoky summer here in southeastern Wisconsin.
All right, thanks, Tom. As you said, you can see it right there and behind you. The visual is fantastic, and we appreciate, of course, the tech as well. Getting those readings is wonderful data, so protect yourselves. Now, what we could use is the right direction for the wind. But we want that wind to be in a range that is manageable. Down south, the wind got a little out of hand. We got this great video from one of our producers at Fox, Steve Yablonsky, and it's a pretty good storm as it blew through Florida. Wind got pretty crazy, and right at the end, the very end of this video here, you should be able to see a palm tree just kind of get taken down by some of these strong wind gusts. And this was in Indian Harbor Beach in Florida. And obviously those palm trees, oh, there you go. You see it kind of taken down right at the end of the video. Those palm trees, you know, obviously they're in bloom, unlike our trees here that drop their leaves unless they're evergreen. They've got leaves that catch that wind pretty much on an ongoing basis, and so they do tend to, in those high wind events, get toppled over from time to time, especially in the more sandy areas like Indian Beach or Indian Harbor Beach where that was taken.
Yeah, no, that was kind of crazy. It's like you saw it and it went down so fast.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
that's true. Well, palms are very different trees, you know, obviously adapted to that type of an environment. And they can be very hardy against the wind because, of course, they only have the foliage on the very top, but they don't necessarily have that deep root system that, say, an oak or something
yeah,
here
you're right.
might, that goes so much deeper. And, of course, they drop their leaves, so it's not as big a problem all year round. Now, we've still got smoke to focus on. We're also going to be looking for some rain this weekend. Lots of events. It is Pride Week, Pride Fest ongoing. So let's take a look at the big picture.
You're right. Let's start with Dodgeville and how it looks outdoors. You already saw from where Tom was standing and how it looked so smoky. Still the same situation, even just here from Dodgeville. Very, very smoky. And as we look at our wildfire smoke aloft, not just for our area, but really just in some of our areas across the Midwest, we're noticing that, yes, Milwaukee and really parts of our entire state is still dealing with a little bit of that smoke, especially for some of our northern portions of the state. They're having a little bit more of that smoke versus in the Milwaukee region. They're seeing a lot more of that smoke actually in the upper layers. But now if we take a look over at least the northeast, you do notice here they are still dealing with a lot of that wildfire smoke in their area as well. So we're not the only ones being affected by this smoke. This smoke is traveling and affecting other parts of the country as well. And this is just a closer look at that wildfire smoke aloft, and that aloft meaning in the upper levels, so where the clouds are or just anywhere but at the surface. Now, as we take a look at the surface, in fact, some of that smoke is still making it to the surface for our area too, especially in the Milwaukee region, a little bit maybe for some of the central portions of Wisconsin as well as the northwestern portions of Wisconsin, and that's also affecting our air quality as a whole. So as we take a look at our air quality, you see here we're in that orange, at least for the Milwaukee region, and a lot of those areas just along the lakeshore and even Green Bay, they're in that orange category, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups. So sensitive groups meaning people with maybe asthma or like a heart disease or any type of condition with your lungs, you're definitely going to be affected with the air quality not being as great. But some of our other areas across the state are just in that moderate, which you still need to use caution because that means the air quality isn't as good as it could be for you to breathe. Speaking of which, let's look at some of our watches and warnings right now. We do have an air quality alert that will be extended up until about noon tomorrow. So we're going from now until noon tomorrow. We're still going to keep that air quality alert because we are still dealing with a little bit of that wildfire smoke. Now let's switch gears here. Let's look at our satellite and radar. We are still pretty dry in our area, and that's all thanks to these high pressure systems just over our state. That is what's keeping us dry. You see in Indianapolis, they're getting a little bit more of that rain as they have a low pressure system in their area. And then you see some of this rain just on the west side of that high pressure system. Now that rain will definitely continue to move closer to our area, but not necessarily falling in the Milwaukee region. A lot of that rain will be in the central portions of the state as well as in the northern portions. As we switch gears and move towards at least the East Coast, they're getting dominated with a lot more of this rain in their area, especially the Carolinas is very, very soggy over in their area as well, which I'm sure we all could use a little bit more of that rain. Let's take a look here on our Sky Vision Plus closer to home and what you can expect as we go throughout the rest of at least this week and into the weekend. Throughout today, we're just going to have those clouds pretty much moving through the area, and even as we head overnight. Now, you do notice a lot more of that rain will start to get closer to the area, especially that northwestern portion of the state. That's where they're going to get a lot more of that rain between tonight and early Friday morning. That rain is going to continue to fizzle out, but still track across at least the northern portions of the state. A few other areas could see just a few of those light showers, but mainly it's just going to be clouds for a lot of those areas south of Green Bay. As we continue to go into Saturday's forecast, it's going to start off very dry for majority of everybody in the state. We're just going to have clouds that we'll be dealing with as we go throughout Saturday afternoon and Saturday night. Some areas will definitely start to get a little bit more of that rain, especially for the southern portion. So near the Chicago region, if you're headed there over the weekend, they're definitely going to deal with a little bit more of that rain. This is Saturday around 8:30 p.m. And then we could even, in fact, see a little bit more of that rain come into our area, at least for the Milwaukee region, at least on Sunday. So this is a look at those rain chances. Very, very low to end the week and start the weekend. But the second half of the weekend and start of the next week is going to be where those rain chances are going to be a little bit more likely. So you definitely don't want to forget that umbrella. As we look at those the national forecast for some of our highs today, a lot of areas are definitely getting a lot more of that warmer air. 100 degrees for a high today in Phoenix. I'm always going to point out Phoenix because they're always super warm. As we look to New Orleans, about 90 degrees for a high, 80 in New York, 89 in Bangor, and 80 in Salt Lake City. We're even in the 70s here for the Milwaukee region, and the majority of the state will actually be in the 70s as well. As you see here in the upper 70s, 80 hitting in Green Bay for a high today. And then we go out to Minneapolis, they're at about 80 as well. So we're warming up, you guys, and we will continue to warm up throughout or stay warm throughout the rest of this week and next week. And here's a look at those high temperatures and the high temperature trend for the next couple of days. We really are going to stay in the 70s. We really won't budge and get lower, except for at least the lakeside communities could get hit with a little bit of a lake breeze. So it could feel a little bit cooler and at least be in the 60s. As we look ahead and beyond, you can notice there that we're going to be trending above average over the next 8 to 14 days. So definitely hang tight because warmer temperatures are definitely going to continue to be in our area.
Right. As we get later into June, the actual average trends up as
Right.
well. Right.
And I can't wait.
Right. We started the month with an average high of 72. We're already at 74. By the middle of meteorological summer, the average highs are in the low 80s. So average trends up. And of course, being above average means we're even hotter than that, which good for a lot of folks. Everybody wants that for the summer.
Right.
But every now and again, getting by the lake for that lake breeze you mentioned isn't so bad either. We'd like the smoke to go away, though. There's a live look, give you a great idea of that blanket that's laying across Milwaukee at the moment. Coming up, we're going to talk a little more about air quality, find out how it's measured, give you some tips to manage it. We're back on this rather smoky Thursday in June here on the Wisconsin Weather Experts. And we've talked a lot about the smoke and, of course, its impact on human health. And it all comes down to something called the Air Quality Index. But what is that? How is it measured? Meteorologist Lisa Michaels has details.
During certain months of the year, portions of Wisconsin may be issued under an air quality alert. We typically have these issued in the warmer months when we have things such as wildfire smoke moving in or bad ground level ozone. We'll cover more on those topics later, but the big question is, how do we measure that? And why is it called the air quality alert? Well, this all goes back to the AQI. This is known as the Air Quality Index. The Environmental Protection Agency measures air pollution daily and measures it with an index in order to categorize it. The reason why we categorize the air quality is to determine who is going to be impacted most. So when they're measuring this, it's given a value 0 to 500. Notice the smaller the value, the better the air quality is. The higher the value, the more hazardous the air quality is. But again, it doesn't mean that the air quality is going to impact everyone all at once. When the air still is relatively good, most individuals won't be impacted. But when we slowly start to increase those values where the air is more moderate or unhealthy for sensitive groups, that's where we start to get concerned with people such as young children, older adults, people who have lung issues, heart issues, and asthma. When our air really gets to be very unhealthy to hazardous, that impacts everyone, no matter who you are. So what we look for, again, is monitoring the value or the overall categorized air quality that we have on a given day. If you are someone who is impacted, you may notice things such as coughing, difficulty breathing, heart pain. If you are dealing with any of those symptoms on a day when we have poor air quality, you want to limit your time outside, get indoors as soon as possible, and contact someone if need be if you are not feeling well. Again, this is something that we will monitor every day, but it really is important to make sure that you are checking the air quality levels as well. Your local meteorologist will be covering what the air quality levels are, especially on days where the air quality is poor.
All right, thank you, Lisa. So now we know what it is, how it's measured, and how it might impact your health. Now we have to figure out how to improve things, and for that we turn to meteorologist Holly Baker.
So with that being said, you hear about all this air quality and how bad it could be outdoors, but what about indoors? Your indoors need to be taken care of as well. Or here is one way, an easy way at that, that you can improve your indoor air quality. The materials you'll need is very simple. Some tape, duct tape preferably, a fan, and an air filter. And once you have those three items, you will need to at least now get your air filter and your fan, and you're going to put those two together. You're going to use your tape, and that's going to tape those so that they'll stay. And once that happens, you're going to make sure that the fan is blowing out through the air filter all of your clean air. This is just a do-it-yourself project. It's very easy, and it's also very inexpensive for you. So once that air pretty much is flowing, you're getting the best air for your home. Now, this is the most important thing. Once your filter fills up, just like a regular air conditioner, you have to make sure you're changing the filter, especially if you're in one of those situations where you do have the wildfire smoke in your area or even the dust. Those filters will fill up pretty fast. But this is one way to help you improve your indoor air quality, at least in the most budget-friendly way.
Great ideas for sure, and ideas we'll likely draw on for a few days, perhaps even a few weeks ahead. It continues to be a rather smoky day today as we take a live look out across the area and right up the road from us here at our FOX6 studios. This is just up at Concordia University in Mequon. They have a beautiful campus there. Still looks pretty beautiful despite the smoke that you can clearly see out over Lake Michigan. We'll be back with more Wisconsin Weather Experts right after this.
All right, you guys, welcome back to Wisconsin Weather Experts. We still have one more story to talk to you about, but we are also always open and taking questions.
That's right, absolutely. We want to hear from you. We want to make you a part of our show as well. So if you have questions, maybe you have some suggestions, maybe you've got a great weather pick or a nature pick or a space pick that you want to share with us so we can spark some discussion with that, just point your phone up at the QR code. If you haven't already, it will take you directly to a site where you can submit your questions, and we'll of course go and check those out, and perhaps you'll be the next one we talk to on the show. If you had a picture of a turtle, we might have that in the next story here. It's an interesting one, right?
Oh yeah, it is, but it's also very cutie. So check this out. One sea turtle returned home back into the Atlantic Ocean, we're talking, after having her front flipper amputated at a turtle hospital in Florida. Dilly Dally, the turtle, was brought to Loggerhead Marine Life Center back in January after suffering from wounds to her flipper. A veterinarian crew cared for her until she was ready to be released into the ocean.
Released Dilly Dally back into the ocean. She originally came in back in January, and she came in with predator wounds to her front flipper. So unfortunately, those wounds were so severe we did have to perform an amputation surgery. But after a few months of healing, Dilly was ready to go back into the ocean. Every time we can release a turtle back into the wild is special, and not just for us, but for all the interns and volunteers and everyone that puts an effort to getting these turtles back out there. It's always a really special day.
Look at there, you see it. And so you see that, okay, the Marine Life Center and the public will be able to follow Dilly Dally's journey via a satellite tracking device, which you see that right there on her shell. So you'll be able to watch her as she goes throughout the ocean. It's like Finding Nemo almost, you know?
Exactly. Kind of like, obviously, a bit of a sad story that she had to have the amputation. Obviously, it's only slowing her down ever so slightly. She is, after all, a sea turtle. So once she gets in the water and her back fins are able to get going, I'm sure she'll be a lot faster. But it will give us some amazing scientific data. Those researchers will be able to track her, learn quite a bit about her and some of the other sea turtles that she interacts with. And so that data that she's able to feed back for them will be invaluable, I'm sure. We here have no sea turtles, obviously, because we're not on either one of the salt coasts. We have the fresh coast, but no sea turtles in that one. We did have some lovely folks from our Where Nature Center in just yesterday on our Real Milwaukee show, and they brought in Boxy, the box turtle, and a salamander as well. Both are native to Milwaukee County. A rather large salamander. I didn't know they came that big. And so it's just a reminder that we're surrounded by this kind of wildlife all the time, everywhere, and they need your help, just the way Dilly Dally needed some help. Where Nature Center is one of the many groups around here that do help out, as the Audubon Society helps out with birds and things like that. So if you ever find an animal like Dilly Dally that maybe needs a little bit of help, you can call a place like the Where Nature Center, or you can call the Humane Society, and they'll put you in the right direction so that they get taken care of properly. And who knows, you might have another story just like that where they're able to use some of the situation there to further science and further conservation as well.
And I think it's going to be cool, too, because not only will we get to track everything she's doing, we'll also get to see where she actually lands and, you know, what areas will she stay in longer versus other areas, and what the weather could even be there at that time.
We get some very interesting data, sea surface temperatures, sea depth temperatures as well. So it'll be interesting to get the data. Dilly Dally might be one of the best scientists we've ever recruited. So who knows? It'll be interesting. Of course, we'll keep you up to date if we get more information on Dilly Dally, the satellite turtle, I guess. It's not quite technically a satellite truck, but this is our live truck now on the move up at the campus of Concordia, looking at the very smoky conditions out over Lake Michigan. That's just right along the lake shore there in Mequon, Wisconsin. Thanks for watching Wisconsin Weather Experts. We'll see you tomorrow, same time.